a little information about Belize. She's been a colleague of mine at American Sexual Health Association. She's currently residing in the United States of America, and she has been diagnosed with herpes 8 years ago. She didn't just sit and accept it. She went, she took treatment, she got cured, and she also went and worked for millions of Afro-American women. She's inspired them not to sit at home and just accept the disease that, okay, I have this, I have to live with this. Take essential medication, overcome the stigma emotionally, mentally, and in all ways possible. And she's also an advocate for safe sex. She's gone a step ahead in writing her own book, which was launched on October 15th. It's available at Amazon. She'll be giving more details about her book on what cannot be cured, living beyond herpes. And thank you very much, Belize, on behalf of the entire Scoph team for taking this webinar. I highly apologize for the technical glitch which caused the delay, and please go ahead. You're live now.
All right, thank you, Scoph, so much for just reaching out to me. I'm just happy we have social media because I don't think we can reach out to each other any other way. So I just want to thank you so much for reaching out to me. Most importantly, because I get to talk to individuals who are moving forward with helping our public health and also helping within your own community, and one day probably step out your own community and serve others in so many ways. But most importantly is herpes. Like, what is it? What is it about? Why is the stigma so bad? That was one question I asked myself after contracting it 8 years ago. I was in college at the given time when I contracted herpes, just like you guys are in college now. And I was talking to a guy that we hit it off right away. He was new to the school, I was new. So we spent a lot of time together at the given time. So we was in the process of moving forward to start dating. And one night that we end up agreeing to have intercourse. At that time, I woke up the next morning and I had a full-blown, my initial outbreak at that time. I didn't know where it came from. I assumed that he gave it to me and I was freaking out. At that time, I didn't know, I knew that it had to be herpes, but I didn't know for sure because, as we know, herpes is not something we talk about all the time. People are not giving you the step-by-steps of what the symptoms are, what it looks for, who you ask to get help from. It's just not there. We don't even have the commercials anymore about bowel tracts like we did a couple of decades ago. It's just to a point where nobody's talking about it. It's kind of swept under the rug like it's no big deal, but it is a big deal because it's something that you have to live with for the rest of your life. It's no cure for it. So with that being said, why is it not being acknowledged? Why is it not having the awareness that it really needs? I realized later on that he wasn't the person who gave it to me at all. I had contracted a couple of months before that, earlier that summer, from another guy that I knew for a long period of time. I had contracted from him. He had came to me and told me that he was having an outbreak. I wasn't aware of it. I was like, what are you talking about? I know I don't have anything. And I got tested, but it was absolutely too early. And I ended up getting a false negative. And so much down the line, I learned that I had herpes. So with that being said, the scary part about it is you can go into the doctor's office one day, not have it, and go back to the doctor's office in a couple of weeks or a couple of months and you have it. And I understand why doctors are so scared about that, because they don't want to deal with that. Why you didn't tell me beforehand and you should have known? And because we truly do put all our trust in our medical put all our trust in you guys. So with that being said, we do freak out. It's like, I can't believe you told me I didn't have anything. I was doing my part, and I was using protection. I was doing this, I was doing that, and it happened. And that's another thing people are unaware of. The biggest thing with herpes is that you can contract it with condoms and without it. And that is really scary because we push, especially with public health, we push the importance of using condoms. We push the importance of asking questions. We push the thing of even doing accident or being just with one partner. We push that. But at the end of the day, it's not enough, because if you don't know anything about herpes, the chance of you getting herpes is very high. That's really where we're failing. We're failing when it comes to education about herpes. We're aware of gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV. We're so aware, and so many other things. We're so aware of those things, but we're not aware of herpes, which is one other thing that you cannot get rid of at all. So we have to ask ourselves is why we're not taking any initiative when it's half of the world have it, which 90% of people have it. If you want to break it down, there's 1 out of 4 people who have it. I think it's probably almost 1 to 3 or 1 to 2 now. But why are we not saying anything? Like, is it because just because you won't die from it is not a big deal? I don't think that's good enough, because as we know, mental health is very, very serious. Mental health is beyond serious. And I feel like this is something that causes those things. It causes suicidal thoughts. It causes the stress. It causes depression, anxiety. As we know, anxiety can get to a point where it can cause people to freak out. And now they have to take the medication and things like that. They're going to psychiatrists. They're doing so many different things, and they still feel like, oh my God, nothing's helping me. And it's the biggest thing is because nobody's talking about it. I feel like when people talk about different things, especially this, it's going to get to a point where we're so used to hearing it where we start to kill the stigma. It's really just the stigma that's causing all the stress. It's not the virus in itself, because most people don't have outbreaks. Some people had their first initial one and never had another one again. But it's the stress. I'm sorry, my husband's calling. It's the stress of looking at them and judging them, thinking that they're promiscuous and that they're nasty and they're disgusting and things like that. That's the point. That's what's really causing people to not want to even talk about herpes at all. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to think about it. They just can't handle it. And it's to a point where some people, even to a point where they want to kill themselves. I have talked a couple of ladies off the cliff of wanting to kill themselves. I'm like, no, don't do that. But I understand how they felt, because I've been there. I've been there where you're so scared what people are going to think. You don't want to tell your new partner because you think he's not going to want to be with you. And at the end of the day, we're in college. We all want to get married. We all want to be with somebody and just have that family and things like that. But when it's something like this that can hinder that, it just feels like it kills everything. You don't have any drive. You don't have any ambition anymore. You just feel like your life has been taken from you. And I really just stress to you guys that you open your eyes to the stigma big time, and that you understand, as you know, stepping into this field, that you have some compassion for those people and a heart for those people, and to open your mind and just understand that this stigma is not what people think. It's most people who are in relationships who are getting herpes. It's not people who are just out here with everybody. It's people out here who are contracting herpes from people they're in a serious relationship with, even people who are married and things like that. That is really just messing a relationship up, sadly to say, because you're starting to think all these negative things. But at the end of the day, it's just a lack of information. That's the reason why we are where we are today. Hello?
Yeah, it's still live, guys. Yeah. Would you want to speak on your book and probably tell people that what prompted you to not just sit and accept something and go and become a leader in this?
Absolutely. The main reason I wrote a book, because nobody's writing a book. The last book that had been written out has been a couple of years ago. And most books that are written are by doctors. So with that being said, a lot of people can't relate to a doctor. A lot of us don't feel like we can relate to our medical professionals, because at the end of the day, they're in a different spectrum than we are. So with that being said, people are ready to hear it from somebody who looks just like them, or somebody who just regular or normal. So with that being said, you have to understand that was my main reason, because I was ready to read it from somebody who lived a life like me, who was regular like me, and not a medical professional. Because at the end of the day, I'm looking like, okay, well, my medical professionals haven't really been telling me much. They haven't been testing me. They haven't been doing this. So how can I trust anything else that you say to me? I don't want to hear it from you. I want to hear it from somebody else who have no background in the medical field, nobody who understands anything, somebody who just living a regular life and it happened to them. So with that being said, that's why I wrote it. It was scary to write, but I was happy I did, because now we can finally relate to somebody who understands, and somebody yourself. You're beautiful. You're smart. Come on. You got to tell yourself what is true and hold on to that, and don't hold on to other people's words, because at the end of the day, that's their thoughts. They're not yours. And if you believe it and you say it so much to yourself, you're going to believe it. So it's no point. Like, you got to get to a point where you just truly accept yourself and love yourself, because right now, this is where you are. Don't know when they're going to help us get rid of this thing. So with that being said, you have to get to a point where you say, you know what? Yes, I'm not happy about this. No, this is not fair at all. I don't deserve to be here. But at the end of the day, this is where I am. But it's not changing how awesome I am. I have a lot to bring to the table. And if he don't want to accept me for that, that's fine. He can go find somebody else. But I want to find at least one person who wants to love me for me. And all it takes is one person. You're not you're looking for everybody to accept you. You're looking for one person who's willing to marry you and have kids with. That's it.
Right. We have a last question. Why is herpes not spoken that much about as compared to HIV, AIDS, or hepatitis in particular? And you've been an inspiration in this field by going about and talking about it. So why do you think it's not still spoken about? Is it because of a stigma or something else? Or why is there so much unawareness regarding herpes?
Because herpes is not life-threatening. It will not damage any other organs in your body. HIV can literally shut you down. It will kill you. Gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis can literally kill you. Hepatitis, it can kill you. So with that being said, they're focusing on, which I'm not mad about it, but they're focusing on the things that can literally kill you. And to a point, it's like you're killing another person. So that's where their concern is, which I understand. But at the end of the day, you have another STD over here that you can't get rid of. So I feel like right now their whole focus is, let's focus on the things that can kill you and not focus on things that can't. And you will hear that if you go to a doctor or, within the circle, y'all will hear that. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's very common. You won't die. Basically, you won't die. You'll be fine. You take some Valtrex and you'll be fine, which is not true because the stigma. So I feel like it's just because, number one, it don't cause any more bodily harm. But number two, because it's so common. And then number three is because they don't think it's just that serious because nobody's talking about it. I feel like if, so many people stood up and say what they were going through, the stress, the depression, the suicidal thoughts, all of those things, I feel like massive people stand up and said something about it, they can make a big deal. Because before, HIV was not a big deal. Yes, it was in other countries, but in the United States, it became a big deal when people started to stand up and be activists about it and started to yell and scream and say, we have to do something about it. And as a community, we stand up and say something, nothing's going to ever change.
Right. Lastly, as we come to the end, is there any message you'd like to give to all our viewers, people who are currently watching this webinar, since it will be shared on YouTube and pre-recorded there, they can watch it anytime later. So anything you'd like to give to anyone, any message you'd like to give to anyone who's watching this, a take-home message or a precautionary message, anything you want to say to anyone?
Yes, most importantly, ask questions when you're in a relationship with somebody. Ask questions. All you have to do is simply say, when the last time you've been tested? If they say, 6 months ago or recently, it's like, hey, can I see it? I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable, but I need to know for my safety and for yours. It's all about saying, I trust you, you trust me, but at the end of the day, I'm responsible for you and you're responsible for me. If that person gets uncomfortable, just say go. I don't want to be bothered, because at the end of the day, when you're having sex with somebody, you're basically saying, I trust you with my life. Basically, people that we're having sex with, we were probably, or even in a relationship sometimes, we're like, I don't trust you that much with my life. So we really just have to get to a point where sex is trusting somebody with our lives. And if we change our motto of it's trusting somebody with my life and it's not just fun and I'm having a good time, or he's just my boyfriend at a given moment and I'm doing this because he loves me and I love him, but really look at the importance of sex and the purpose of sex, then it'll change so many things. But I want to speak to the people who have it. You're not alone at all. So many people have it. I'm here for you. If you need to talk, contact me. It's so many support groups out here. I tell you, find a support group. It make a heck of a difference. That's the reason why I even accepted it, because I seen 10 million people like, oh my God, so many people have it. I don't feel alone, and when you start not feeling alone, things get a little bit better. But right now, since you're feeling alone, it makes it so much harder. You feel like you're in this by yourself. So I say, number one, ask questions, get tested together. If they don't want to have a conversation, move on. And most importantly, if you have it, find a support group or reach out to me. Find my videos on YouTube as well. Reach out to me and we'll talk, because it's just simply of getting your thoughts out and having somebody there to support you, and that's all.
Right. Thank you very much, Belize, for being part of this webinar, and I apologize to everyone for the technical delay. And we'd love to hear more from you. You've been a source of inspiration for all of us, and we really hope to work with you in the future as well. Thank you very much once again, and it was lovely having you take this webinar.
No, thank you. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you. Have a good day.